I want to start this morning by reading one of the parables. I was asked this week to, um, or I don't know if it was asked, but I was told this week that somebody was led to the parables and wanted me to talk a little bit about a parable from one of Jesus' parables in the from the Bible. And I already had this idea of what I wanted to talk about, what I felt like I was being led to talk about, but that one felt really good too, so it was like, what do I do? And when I got in and started looking at the different parables, aha, they fit. So we're gonna start with the parable and then move into the other talk. The parable is it's from Luke 5:36, and this is Jesus' response. He was the Pharisees were kind of whining, because the old way of doing things was different than what Jesus was doing. The people who were following John were all fasting. The people who were following Jesus were partying. They were having a good time. They were eating and just, it was just a celebration. And it was during a time that fasting was supposed to be happening. So the Pharisees are going, well, why do they get to eat and we have to fast? And, it was a pity party. That's what it was. Anyway, Jesus' response was, can you make the guest of a bridegroom fast while he is with them? And I actually started a little bit early, but that was where I needed to start, and I told you wrong. It's 34, Luke chapter 5:34. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and in those days they will fast. He told them this parable to mark his point, to underline his point. No one tears a patch from a new garment and sews it onto an old one. If he does, he will have torn the new garment, and the patch from the new will not match the old. It just won't work. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the new wine will burst the skins. The wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No new wine must be poured into the new wineskins, and no one, after drinking old wine, wants the new, for he says the old is better. The thing that was happening here was the Pharisees were stuck in the old way thinking. They were trying to understand what Jesus was teaching. They were trying to be on the same track with what Jesus was teaching, but they were staying with the old laws, the old doctrine of their religion, and trying to adapt what Jesus was saying to that. That was like taking the new patch from a new garment and putting on an old, thinking it was going to work. It doesn't. It may work for a little while. It might be that little Band-Aid over a severed artery. It might work for a few minutes, but eventually it's going to give way. The old is going to disintegrate around it, and all you have left is a patch. With the wineskins, the reason that didn't work, what they were talking about here, the wine was put into the wineskins, and that's where the fermentation happened. It wasn't just that this was a vessel to carry wine. If that was the case, then you could pour new wine, old wine, whatever, into an old wineskin, it'd be all right. It'd be like putting it into a glass carafe today. Okay? But that's not what happened. It's the same thing as if you put new wine into an old wine barrel. It's just not going to quite work right because the barrel is going to end up disintegrating quicker. Same with the wineskins. What Jesus is saying is, if you just take the things that you learn here and you don't change anything else, it's going to fall apart on you. It's not going to make sense. So the title for today's talk is Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Neil Donald Walsh said that. That was one of his quotes. And also I've seen it in a couple other things. Unity sent out a little booklet one time, or here recently, same title. Change your thinking, change your life. That's what Jesus was talking about. You have to change your entire thinking in order to bring in the Christ teachings. If you want to live a more spiritual life, you have to change your thinking throughout your entire life. You can't go through Monday through Friday living just like you always have, and then Saturday go out and have a real good time, and then Sunday, oh, you're spiritual. I went to church with folks like that a long time. It doesn't work. You bring spirituality into every aspect of your life. Now, please do not go into old religious doctrine here and think that what I'm saying is you cannot enjoy a margarita. You cannot dance. You cannot. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that in everything you do, you bring in your new way of thinking. If I am one with God, then when I go sit down with my friends to have that margarita, I'm going to experience my friends in a whole new way. I'm going to see the divine in them. Now, this new thinking, this new thought that we pretty much talk about all the time is actually older than religion. It goes way back. This very concept of change your thinking, change your life goes back, predates Jesus. Okay? So Jesus was teaching this same thing. It was already there. Speaking of, before we go to that, I was reading up on parables. I like to look at history and, what is a parable? Well, a parable is basically a story that's made up. And it's just made up to prove a point. It's not necessarily that Jesus knew somebody had put wine in a wineskin, it burst and went everywhere. He made the story up and used it to make a point. He learned this. Well, let me back up. I wasn't there. This type of teaching was used in the Far East long before Jesus ever came around. So it's one more piece of evidence that he may literally have traveled to the Far East to learn from some great teachers. We're finding more and more and more of that as we learn more about history. Needless to say, Jesus used parables to make a point. This change your thinking, change your life, like I said, goes back way beyond Jesus. And it goes back to a word that we're all familiar with. The word is abracadabra. Now, we know it associated with magic. We're going to go back now. That is an Aramaic word. That was the language that Jesus used. When Jesus was talking, hey, how you doing? He said it in Aramaic. Okay? Aramaic, the word abracadabra means, I create as I speak. Isn't that beautiful? Words have power. Thoughts have power. I create as I speak. So abracadabra doesn't mean voila, here it is. Abracadabra means I create as I speak. It was soon after Jesus was around, it was translated over to Hebrew, and it came to mean then, it came to pass as it was spoken. And then in the 1600s, when it was translated over into the Latin and Greek languages, that's when it became associated with magic. So not till the 1600s. So it was way beyond that. Our thoughts are energy. And the more we study about the law of attraction, the more we realize that the energy we send out is attracting back to us like energy. That's why change your thinking means that your life is going to change as well. The thoughts that we have, the words that we speak, they are all energy. They go out and they find like things. So if we're thinking, today's a horrible day, this rain is just awful, it's just going, guess what we're going to get? We're going to get more of that. Now, when I wrote that statement that I was telling you about earlier that I put out on Facebook this morning about the rain is just cleaning the streets ahead of us so that we have a nice clean path to go, I said it was kind of silly. There's a lot of truth to that. We can look at it that way. We change our perception. We change our reality. Your beliefs do create your reality. We talk a lot about law of attraction, and that law of attraction bringing us riches, bringing us new cars, bringing us new homes, we usually associate it with material things. It will do that. The proof of that is, think about the last time you were looking at a new car. You pick a style car that you like, You pick a color that you like, and then all of a sudden you see them everywhere. That's the law of attraction beginning to work for you. Now, the trick with law of attraction is we oftentimes get to that point, and then we start seeing reasons why it's not going to happen, or we start seeing hurdles that we have to crawl over, and those hurdles become what we focus on instead of what we're going to get once we get past them. So if you ever decided you wanted a car, and all of a sudden you see a bunch of them out there, and then it didn't manifest into your driveway, something like that happened. You either saw the hurdles more than the car, or you changed something about your belief system. We talk about all of that, but it starts with a thought. All of creation started with a thought. There was nothing. There was a void. And a thought came about that was directed towards light, that was directed toward planets and stars and life. And it happened. Whether you believe in the Big Bang Theory or you believe in the creation theory, there was a thought that created an energy that started the whole thing. I think I've told the story before. My niece had a shirt one time that says, "I believe in the Big Bang Theory. God said do, and bang, it happened." I believe that. There was a thought. There was an energy that created that first thought. We have that energy every single day, and it comes in the form of a wish. Now, I know that I wish I could win that jackpot on that lotto, on that slot machine. You know, oftentimes we push that back down. Oh, wishing is childish. Wishing, we don't know how important, or we don't realize, I should say, how important that wish is. A wish is the spark that creates hope. Hope is the spark that starts the thinking process. And with a little bit of hope, we have a little bit of belief. And the more we allow that to grow, the greater our belief. The more our thoughts are in line with that belief. If we allow that to continue growing, that belief truly will become our reality. It will never fail you. We stop ourselves short. Some of us stop ourselves in that wish stage. Because we do. We look at it, that's childish, that's ridiculous. Me, a millionaire? Come on. You know, wishing I'll win the lottery? Come on. Somebody's going to win it. Why not? Let that wish grow. Now what happens is I wish I'd win the lottery tonight can turn into, I hope I win the lottery. I might become a millionaire. Doesn't have to come from the lottery. Maybe I write a book that sells 15 million copies tomorrow. Now I've got some action that I can actually do instead of sitting around hoping, instead of sitting around wishing. This little spark that started as a wish creates an energy, and this energy builds and it brings in like energy. That like energy starts manifesting in ways that we cannot imagine. You know, I find a penny walking down the street. That's the first penny of my $1 million. The next thing, I'm taking action, doing something different and bringing in more money. If I stop myself, I stop that whole process. If I think that wish is childish or foolish, ignorant, whatever I call it, I stop the whole process. If the wish develops into a hope, I can do the same thing. I can stop it by simply thinking harshly on it. That's not going to work. There's no way I can do that. Might as well throw that out the window. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we allow it to grow. We allow it to develop. We don't have to leave it in the childish stage. It doesn't have to stay a wish. If we keep it in the wish stage, if we keep that wish alive and never let it develop to anything else, it's the same thing as squashing it. It's the same thing as turning it off. We allow it to develop. We allow thoughts to be created around it. And when we allow the thoughts to be created around it, it moves beyond the wish stage. It moves into the reality stage. So we don't just think a thought and bang our new cars in the driveway. I haven't figured out how to make that happen yet. And to be honest, I haven't totally figured out all of the law of attraction, but I do know that I stopped myself very early on in the process way too many times. Becoming a minister has been stopped 1,000 times over the past 15 years. 1,000 times, easily. And when I finally started saying yes to that thought, I get to sit here and talk to you guys every Sunday morning. And it's a thrill. So I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of quotes. And I'm going to read them so that I get them right. The first one comes from Proverbs chapter 23, verse, I do not remember the verse. I wrote down T for some reason. Verse 3, I think, something. 23, I don't know. Somewhere in it's Proverbs chapter 23. Read the whole thing and you'll get it. Okay? The statement, the verse is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now this does not say, I am this way, so I think this way. That's not what it says. It does not say that I have turned out this way. I mean, my thoughts are like this because I am this person. It's quite the opposite. I am this person. I am this human being. I am this manifestation of a spiritual being because of how I think. If I don't like this, change my thinking. You know, we talked about creation a little while ago, and I'm going to step back for just a minute, so sorry. Creation is always expanding, elevating, creating new. We do too. The thinking energy is creation. So never settle for where you are. Be satisfied with where you are and be grateful for where you are. But always look to expand and elevate into more. And that's more of your heart. That's more of your connection with God, your awareness of God in every aspect of your life. Never settle for that. Be grateful for where you are and know that there's more. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. It's beautiful. I just love that. And then the last quote is from Henry Ford. And he probably says it, to me, he says it best because it makes sense to me so much. Whether you think you can or think you cannot, you are right. What you believe creates your reality. Change your thinking, change your life.